afternoon, Chris.
Hello.
I'm Nicola Wills. And Chris Haskell. This afternoon, we have Chris Haskell with us. He's going to tell us a little bit about 3D gaming, which you are a co-creator. So, first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself so we get to know you a little bit better.
Okay. I'm a guy who plays video games and has convinced a university that that's a real thing that you can study so that I can keep playing video games while I'm teaching.
Now, how did you do that?
Well, if you publish enough papers, eventually they believe that it's important and they let you have like an Xbox on your desk.
Okay, that sounds like a lot of fun.
No, but I do. I prepare teachers to teach. I teach at the university and prepare teachers for all levels and all topic areas, and as part of my job. And I also train master's students. I teach master's classes in educational games and virtual worlds and those things that excite me.
Okay. Oh, wonderful. So we have a big spectrum there. Now, I would like to know a little bit more about 3D gaming. This is a big thing. You're the co-creator. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, so, there's a lot of discussion about gamification. It's the word that we use a lot. Eventually, we'll stop using that word and we'll call it by other names. But the idea that you take things that are popular in games, that work well in games, and you apply them to other things. So we earn points at stores, right? We level up and become a silver card holder to a gold card holder. Those are all games.
And eventually platinum.
Eventually platinum. I don't know what comes after platinum, but those are all kind of gamification pieces where we take something else and we make it look more like a game. We're in the process now of making school look more like a game, using experience points rather than A's, B's, and C's, using badges and achievements and awards and levels, that you start as a level 1 and you finish the course as a level 10, which shows all of your knowledge. And we're also starting to use games to help break up the way things look. So in a regular class, you might complete this assignment, and then this quiz. But in a video game, you complete this quest, and then one of these two other quests, and then, they look very different. We wanted to make school look more like a video game.
Okay. With
progress bars, with awards and choice, and none of the tools that we looked at would allow us to do it. So we built one.
All right.
Yeah, that's the long answer to your short question.
Okay, so in the whole process of building this, what were the different considerations that you had to...
Well, we wanted to create a school environment that had no homework, had no tests or quizzes, that had no due dates, and students had choice.
Wow, for children. What about teachers?
Right, because those are all tools that teachers use to organize it.
Okay.
Well, we borrowed the design from video games to help with that. It doesn't mean that we're without rigor, nor does it mean that students shouldn't work on things outside the classroom, or that they shouldn't get things done in an orderly fashion. But using those to organize the curriculum, at least with our students, tends to cause more problems. Let's take due dates, for example. I'm going to give you an assignment, and you're going to write a one-page review of this interview.
Okay.
And it's not due until next week. Let's say next
Wednesday.
When are you going to do it?
If it's for next Thursday, probably Wednesday evening.
Okay.
And by then I've forgotten
Right.
most of the data and the facts of which we've talked about.
Yes, you're exactly right. And that's what happens, is that we delay when that becomes important. And mostly we make it so large that when a student gets around to putting it in their busy life, because we've said it's not important yet, they put less time in it than it's required to do it well, and then we punish them with you get a B- or a C on this because it wasn't this. And in your mind, you're thinking, wow, I got that good of a grade and I put that little time into it. It reinforces the wrong behaviors. But if we instead take this big activity that we want them to do and we break it into little pieces, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and we collect those things together in a chain and say, when you get to the end of this chain, you'll have this finished product, which represents this part of the curriculum, then we see much more progress in the curriculum today and not waiting. So.
Now, one of the big questions, especially for those skeptical teachers, say, oh, that sounds nice in theory, but how am I going to make sure that I've accomplished my standards, that my objectives have been fulfilled?
Okay, that's a really good question. It's one that we had to wrestle with to get the buy-in of the rest of the faculty at my university to say that we were not just meeting the standards we met before, but actually pushing beyond them and doing more. And that is that you need a system that tags standards to what's being created so that you can display those digitally. And our tool, we built that in. So you might choose a certain quest that meets these 5 standards and this much of a standard. And we need to be able to show those in a player card, like video games do. They can tell you how good you are at using this tool or this weapon in a video game. They can say that you're 80% accuracy with this, because each of the tasks that you perform measure that also. So the other piece is that in a video game, you don't necessarily get a B if you don't pass the level. You just have to do it again. So we decided that we would create a 1-column rubric, meaning these are the things that are expected, and when you hand something in to me, oh, it meets this, but it hasn't met this yet, so I'm going to hand it back to you, and here's what you need to fix. So, and then you hand it back, and then you get full credit, because it represents what we wanted it to represent. So whether it takes someone 1 time, 1 attempt, or 5 attempts, it still represents the same amount of learning. In the process, we've actually, with the classes we've been testing this approach in, we've actually raised the average output of students. They're completing more. Many more students are meeting our expectations, not just the minimum, but what we want students to demonstrate when they come out of it. 93% of all students who are taking a class in this approach are finishing with the A or equivalent. They represent the highest that we would want a student to create, mostly because we're removing punishments that have more to do with planning than they do with learning.
Big problem, especially in education, where the focus is learning and
yes,
the planning is just a little instrument or element of that whole learning process.
But more often than not, their ability to plan, their ability to overschedule, and the time they're choosing to work on things says more in their final grade than their aptitude or comfort with the content. Or in fact, we know that there's an inverse relationship. The students who often come in with the most knowledge about a subject do the worst because they don't spend the time engaged in it because they don't believe they need to. But if we can remove some of those things that would cause students to fail, then we can engage them in the curriculum.
You spoke a little bit about badges. You mentioned badges. Tell us a little bit about it.
So badges in a video game environment represent where you have been, what you have learned, what you can do. And badges in an educational environment do the same thing. Some students are motivated by badges. They want to get more. I want to get more than you. Some students, they're not motivated by those things. They're motivated by other things. So we use badges and achievements to recognize meeting standards, exceeding and earning specialization. So in a class, there may be more curriculum in a certain area of interest that a student can continue working toward, and I can earn different badges. I can earn different badges in the same class than you would, but we can both still complete the same standards.
So right now we're talking about different levels of comprehension. So it's individualized according to each learner, and much more specific.
Students come into a class, and students should come into a class wondering what this knowledge will mean in the rest of their life, in the person they want to be, in the job that they want to have. But most of the time, they come into our class so that they can get the approval so that they can then do what they want. They don't see a connection. They see it as a hoop or a step that they have to pass, and that they need our approval to do it, which is true, but we want them to also engage in a subject where they really want to fit this into their world. They like that it gives them more knowledge, it gives them more comfort or experience. And we can give them that if we allow them choice, and we allow them to take parts of the curriculum further, than we might expect of everyone. If you could spend more time in one area, say of a public speaking class, maybe the class is speech, and you and I might do that differently. You might spend a lot more time interested in video, and you want to know, okay, how do I use YouTube? How do I use Vimeo? How do I use these? You should be able to explore that in the curriculum, and it still meet the public speaking. And mine might be more, I want to do more of a sales presentation. I want to try to learn how to do that good 2-minute elevator pitch. We're meeting the same standards. We're doing it through different media.
Yes.
So,
and very, very important, based on our previous experience and our students' previous experience, what works. Now, one of the big questions that I have is, for me, you don't have to convince me. I love gaming. I think it's very important, especially simulation. But what about that everyday teacher who says, okay, this is something I might want to try? How does 3D gaming help that teacher move into that system?
So, I really believe that the experts that are needed to help prepare teachers to use different approaches are already in their classroom. They're just facing the board rather than having their back to it. And I've always found that really good teachers leverage the knowledge and experience that their students have to benefit the whole class. Every child who feels that they are important will attend, will connect to a class. And so asking students, okay, if we were going to earn 3 badges, we're going to make this class into 5 badges, what would they be, right? Or if we were going to use a video game platform to build ancient ruins and walk through them, what would we use? And a student would say, Minecraft, or this tool. They're already experts. So I believe that the job of teachers is maybe to loosen the restrictions on how their students learn and apply the context to what they learn, right? You want this, the school wants this, here's the place in between where both of those can live, right? And so I think that, to answer your question, one of the things that teachers should do is ask their students, what do you think about this? What's a good place we can do this? And what are you guys doing at home that's so fun right now? I think good teachers have always done that. And the second thing is that I would always tell our teachers to play more video games. Yep. At least 1 hour a day, teachers.
See, I've been trying to convince my colleagues of this for years, and they think, why are you wasting your time playing video games?
Play a video game.
Play a video game.
I do 2 hours of research a day. That's my goal. 1 hour is reading journals and reading books and seeing what other people are doing. Another hour is playing video games.
Yes, and especially from your 6-year-old, you can learn a lot about what games are popular for them.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, they know so much more than we do in these areas. So I would, if you want to turn your class into a game, if you want to use more games, then you have to spend time learning about those things.
Tell me a little bit about your website. I looked at your website and I saw it was giving me, it said I had an option to sign in, log on, and create my game. Okay, for someone who knows a little bit about it, say, okay, this is easy. What about everyday teacher, they want to go into your website. What are the opportunities for them?
Well, so we built a tool that allows you to turn your class into a game. Basically take all of your activities and place it in an environment where they earn experience points, they see progress bars, they earn badges, they complete quests, and that's the tool that we built. Teachers, we're still in the beta phase, so we're inviting teachers to come in and participate. We're currently testing the approach with over 850 teachers in 14 countries. So it's exciting to see how they're using it as early as 2nd grade and all the way through college into master's and doctoral programs, high school, everything. And so they can come to the website. There's a link where they can say, I want to be a beta teacher, and we'll connect when there are openings. So we offer teacher camps, which teach teachers how to use the different tools as well. Part of learning any new approach is both being a player, and learning from experienced teachers.
Okay, so all these teacher camps, they're online. So if I said to my students, come on, we have an opportunity, let's sign up, and we can just...
Online, no due dates. You can complete as fast as you want. No curriculum is required. You simply play through the curriculum that interests you, and then the system shows what learning has occurred.
Okay. Earlier we were having a conversation. You talked a little bit about digital culture in a class that
Yes.
you're going to be teaching. Tell us a little bit about that. I think that will be exciting for our audience to hear about that.
So our students now are the first full generation in a new renaissance, right? Just as the existence of the printing press and books allowed for people access to knowledge in ways that they had never had access to it before, the internet allows us to learn whatever we want, whenever we want. And we just need teachers to get credit. But as I mentioned, before, as teachers, we have an incredible context. We have a wisdom from experience that they will develop, but they haven't yet. And so part of this class on digital culture that I'm developing is teaching them how to communicate in different digital cultures. So a culture that exists, say, in World of Warcraft or a video game environment is different than one that exists, say, on a discussion board about football, right? I mean, you may have a club discussion board, and there are rules in that environment. You don't insult the other teams. You never talk about the refereeing, right? I mean, there are rules in these digital cultures, and we learn how to communicate. We learn how to allow our message to be heard in those environments, and sometimes that's very, very short. In the Twitter communities, that people are engaged in. Right. There are different roles and different positions that you can, if you want your message to be heard, there are rules that you learn about how to communicate in these environments. And so the course is really about exploring what these digital cultures look like, how to find out who are the leaders, how to become a thought leader, how to change the discussion, how to include people. It's a course that I'm really interested in teaching on how to communicate with those that we may never meet face to face.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yes, and I think this is what we really need to move into the digital culture, and right now you're an example of that. And I really want to thank you. It was wonderful speaking to you, and we look forward to your presentation in the Jornadas Pedagógicas.